Good afternoon, and today I have with me from the east coast of Scotland, this Julia Coulson and Julia Melville. How you doing, ladies? So gorgeous to see you.
Lovely to see you. Hello.
Lovely to see you too.
Thank you for having us here with you today.
Not at all. It's so nice to see you, and we're so excited. Obviously, I'm just back from Skye, and it was just jaw-dropping beyond belief. So I'm just so excited. And really, we want to talk today about all the magical stuff that you're going to be bringing to the Heal In. But let's just start with, because your journey, like mine, like everybody that's in the healing world, I think has evolved. You started with Perth Wellness Centre, and you're both psychologists and you're both Kundalini yoga teachers. And it's just kind of journeyed and then sound. So you want to just start talking a little bit about how you guys have evolved and what you're really focusing on now.
Do you want to start?
Well, we met in 2008 as we were, our journey as psychotherapists. We met at a mental health charity where we were both working at the time, and we were both English, same hairstyle, same job, and
same name,
and same likes. So it was like meeting a mirror.
Yeah, that's so cool, isn't it?
And then our journey just continued on, that we pretty quickly set up our own private practice. And then in 2019, we opened Perth Wellness Centre, which is amazing. And it's, we love running it. It's like it's a holistic hub, hosting a variety of ceremonies, retreats, events, workshops, weekly classes, therapeutic treatments. And so this is kind of this is our day to day really now.
Yeah, we've done many trainings together. We've traveled together. We've kind of evolved into, we work with a lot of medicines now, and our psychotherapy underpins it all. It's just the basis that helps us support people in all that we do.
Yes, absolutely fantastic. And I mean, I was over in Perth Wellness Centre so many times. It's so great to have your own venue, isn't it?
Yeah,
it really
amazing.
Is, yeah.
And obviously I've seen the kind of evolution of your practice as more and more information comes out about the power of plants, ceremonies, sound for healing. And you have got, I mean, the most incredible gongs. Do you want to? And I also want you to tell us a little bit about your trip to Egypt. I'm like, right, okay, where do we start? Let's start with the gongs, and then we can go to what magic you saw in Egypt.
Okay.
Gosh, gongs to Egypt. That's quite a journey in itself in between. Yeah, we've hosted sound baths for many years now. It's just a beautiful, what I really love is it's a medicine for everybody, really. I mean, obviously there are contraindications, around pregnancy, people with hearing aids, etc. But it's somewhere for everybody to start. And when we were talking earlier, Lilia, when you said, people can just lay down and receive this medicine through vibration, and they don't actually have to do anything apart from just lie there.
And we've got many different instruments now. We've kind of added to our collection, which is always very exciting to do. And the gongs always being the fundamental part of the whole experience. But the instruments take you on a journey, and it's really magical because it helps shift blocks that we can be carrying. It can take us into into an experience of actually understanding things about ourselves that maybe we hadn't realized, can really touch into our subconscious.
Yeah, it can take you into an altered state, can't it? You can journey.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, and I think you're always a bit wary to give people an expectation level about it, but because then they expect and they want and they judge. But reality is, every time you do it, it can be very different. A bit like having a Reiki experience or any energy experience.
Absolutely.
You said about hearing aids there. What's the situation? Would you take them out?
Yeah, for playing the gong, yes, to take out any hearing, because they can reverberate and be very uncomfortable.
Right. Yeah, and that makes sense, I suppose, because it's like having an amplifier, really, isn't it?
Yeah. It's only the gongs that you can't be pregnant for a gong bath, and you also your hearing aids. So the other,
what's the thinking around the pregnancy?
It's too intense, the vibration
for the baby.
Yeah.
Oh.
And particularly in the first trimester.
Right.
You need to be particularly careful. Yeah.
And what I really love about gongs is that they bring, well, they can, not always, but sometimes they bring up emotions that need to be released. Not always, everybody's experience is different, but they have the potential to do that, which how awesome is that? You can just lay there and then feel emotions rising that need to be released.
Yes. Yeah, I know, that's the thing. Well, I mean, I think when you see everything as frequency and vibration, that's quite obvious. As recently I've been trying to explain about sound healing, and I think because I see it as we're an energy mass interacting with an energy mass. So anything that therefore in sound or smells, it's all just energy interacting with energy. So it kind of makes sense that something like that is having an impact on your energy system. And obviously, I use the Genius Insight frequencies when I'm doing my breath work now to deliver the frequency of Bach flower remedies, essential oils, vitamins, so to really deliver great stuff into the body via the ears primarily, but obviously the skin to some degree as well. But the understanding that this speaker, that the speakers that we have inside our head are better than any Bose speaker you could ever buy. They're incredible, and we're using the ears to bring a different frequency into the body, which I think we previously thought you have to eat it to impact your biology. Now we're understanding, well, of course you can smell it has an impact on your health. Obviously essential oils, I think people are starting to realise are very powerful too, and obviously sound is incredibly powerful. And do you find sometimes people get they almost like contract, and then encouraging them to sort of breathe and allow the sound, because it can feel like quite jarring, can't it, sometimes?
Well, it's meant to in places. It's meant to shift some of that energy. It needs to be jarring, and it can not all the time, but
it can really bring up, the gongs can really bring up fear, which is good, because again, it's an energy, but it's really staying present with that energy. We had a gong bath not long ago, we had a sound bath not long ago, where somebody said that they'd actually wanted to get up and go, but she said afterwards she stayed, obviously, and afterwards she couldn't believe the difference of how she felt and the shift she'd felt. So it's just being trusting that it's.
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? Any time you go to let go, you're very often going to feel worse before you feel better, because it's almost like you have to bring it up to pass it through. And because we're almost scared of our emotions, when it starts to get, painful, and it can be physically painful and emotionally painful, we're like, oh, we better push this back down, instead of with these sound healings, we're saying, no, breathe through it and allow it to move through the body, because you're going to feel so much better when you let go of that energy. Yeah, and I mean, I just absolutely love it. I mean, I think I always say, quote my pal Sue, who says, we are speakers, we are singers who speak, and we are, Joe Dispenza, we're an instrument of consciousness, an instrument. So we can be in tune or we can be out of tune. So for me, using sound to help you heal, well, it does no harm. That's the worst that can happen is nothing. And we know that never happens, not especially when you're using gongs like you guys have got, and that, because they're tuned, aren't they? Do you want to talk a little bit what your gongs are tuned to?
Yeah, mine is Jupiter, and so that is about bringing up fear and in the body, and to help us heal that fear, and which is really beautiful. And it can be very soft, but it can also be a very powerful noise, and it's often when it gets that powerful part, that's when it brings up that energy. But that's the purpose of that gong, to really help us understand that. It can bring in the color purple, that vibration brings in the color purple. So yeah, it's really I love it.
I know, absolutely. And that's the whole thing now. We're realizing that there's a color, there's a mineral, there's a pitch, there's a tone, there's it's all vibration, and I think it's really a really exciting time for energy medicine, which is really what we're talking about. So you're going to be doing a sound bath when you arrive in Skye on the Thursday night, which will obviously be for your guests that are coming to stay, and also for local people in the area. And yeah, there's obviously we're not that far from Portree, not that far from Broadford, so it's going to be amazing for the people of Skye to be able to come and experience your sound bath, because it is pretty unique. And then on the Friday, it's a closed group. It's of residential guests. Is that right?
Yes. So we're going to have 2-night closed group. So Friday night and Saturday night is going to be for a closed group up to 10. So, right. And then we're going to be working with some nature's medicines. But we want to keep that as a closed group so that it's, it feels safe, and everybody does the journeys together.
And it's very much, sorry.
Yeah, the people that are there getting to know each other and trust each other, and it's a huge part of it, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
And you've been through the same experiences, so there's a kind of camaraderie, a community that happens when you do that together, isn't there?
Yeah, and it's really important to create that holding for safety. When we feel safe and when we feel held, then it's easier to be vulnerable and to connect with self in a different way. So that's why it's really important that it's a closed group and it's for the same people.
Yeah, and it's safe and it's warm. Got a beautiful log fire. Yeah, great. So now obviously you are both psychologists as well as all the other hundreds of things that you do. And I think obviously with such an enormous mental health problem that we have, particularly with not just younger people, but I think it's probably more prevalent there in terms of being able to manage it. What age can come in this retreat? What's your cut-off?
That's a good question. Well, minimum of 18, so not under 18. And there is no cut-off, really, going the other way. And it's very much, this retreat is very much for people who are on a spiritual path already, who maybe have experienced an awakening. And by that, we mean, sometimes we have an awakening through an illness, through a crisis, through a trauma, but who actually start to ask the questions of, actually, who am I? What's the universe about? Understanding the stories they tell themselves, their patterns of behavior. So that's who the retreat is for.
And also for people that are already working with their shadow self. So the parts of them that maybe they don't like, or patterns or habits that keep showing up, and it's like, oh, here I am again in this same pattern. Because as much as we're psychotherapists and we promote talking therapy can only go so far at times, and sometimes we need something else to take us into those depths that maybe are painful, are difficult to see, that are uncomfortable, but it is for those people that really want to explore those parts, to get a deeper connection with themselves and a more understanding of why why we are the way we are, and our purpose in life, and so that we can feel freer and kinder and softer in the relationship with ourselves, and therefore that impacts the relationships with other people as well.
And we very much work with the metaphysical, which means understanding the language of the body, understanding what creates this disharmony, this dis-ease inside. So that's
we have to get into the body, don't we? We have to. I mean, like you, I'm big into talk therapies as well, and we can really, with certain techniques, we can change a lot of stuff. But we know the body holds the score. So getting into the body and getting the mind out the way and being able to really unravel, I think is very powerful. And also, I think what you said there about purpose, we've got more now than we've ever had materially. There's really not very much else that we need, and yet we've got more suffering than probably arguably we've ever had with disease. So because people aren't fulfilling or living their purpose, and they're kind of working to pay the bills, and there's nothing wrong with that. And sometimes you have to do it, but I think more and more as you start to wake up and remember, you think, right, okay, I really want to be doing something that I love. I want to be of service, which is really, I think, the way so many people I know are going. They want to make a difference. They're really questioning why they came here, what's it all about, what is death, what, all of that stuff, which I think is a conversation we should all be having, because with the rate of dis-ease that we have going on, there's nobody that's not getting affected by it. And I was talking to a group of guys that have been damaged by, let's just say, the COVID story. And I was like, right, we can't focus on the past and the rage at what's happened. We have to look forward and go, right, how do we take this forward? And I think, for a while, we always thought, well, you go to a specialist or an expert or something like that. And now you're realizing, well, if you don't want allopathic drugs or surgery, there's nothing else there for you. How are you going to navigate your life properly? And I think that's what the stuff that you guys are doing really helps to open that up. And then you come away, if there's 10 people doing that ceremony or the retreat, then you've got 10 other people that are on the same journey. And that's how it works, isn't it? And then people that understand, and that you've had these deep, meaningful conversations face to face, because I'm big for that now. I'm like, next year, I'm like, it's face to face. It's got to be. We need to be out there together. So you've got looking at your purpose, and I think that's one side of it. But then, in order to truly have the courage to maybe step away from your job or your business, or let's face it, sometimes your partner, or to let go of maybe a difficult relationship with children that are maybe not living life the way you would like them to live it, to be able to kind of turn the face forward again, often means going into the shadow and letting go of all the family trauma that you've experienced. So it's got to be the two things. I know from what I teach, the Sedona method, it's like, well, where do you want to go and what's stopping you from getting there? So you have to look at both sides. And we're very good at looking at the light. Oh, I would love that. This is what I would like to manifest, but maybe not quite so good at looking at what's...
It's interesting you say that about we have to look at the light. We do, and, we're medicine women. We work in the dark because that's where the light is. Yes. And so we can't all be in the light because we need the balance of the dark as well. So we have to go into the dark and start clearing some of this stuff, allowing this energy to flow so that we can see more of the light. So there's an irony there, but, it is about the shadow work. And I find that really exciting. It really excites me because this is, what holds us back. You were talking about how people, when we go to school, we go to college, all the conditioning of society. And yet actually we're talking about coming into the heart. What does my heart want? What is most fulfilling? Because, when we live from the head, this is when we create the war inside ourselves with our conditionings. But when we really live in our heart of, what do I want to do? What makes my heart sing? That's when all our cells come alive.
Of course it is. Yeah, because you've basically got a conflict. You've got the head saying one thing and the heart saying another. And when it comes to healing, and we know that, arguably, everything can be created from here, disease and healing. So, we cannot, if you go in and start letting go of all the past childhood traumas and maybe ancestral traumas and maybe stuff that you've created yourself in this lifetime, you're going to get better. I mean, how much better you get is obviously you might have to do other things, but, you're going to get lighter, metaphysically lighter. I've seen it. So, and I've done lots of retreats with you guys. You can see it in people's faces. At the end, they look different because the perceptions have all shifted and the stories have moved, haven't they? And it's and it happens. Like if you're sitting down doing a talk therapy, you really have to wait until somebody's ready. But sometimes when you just go into the retreat, it's just like, right, it's happening whether you like it or not. And that's why it's so important to be held by people that really understand how to guide people through, because it can be scary. We know that you're always going to feel better when you put their bin out. But it's if you've never done it before, there's definitely an element of probably healthy fear. Like what you're going to it's going to show up.
Yeah.
Yes,
and I think also we live in a society where we numb ourselves in all over the place. Whether it's with drink or shopping or food or whatever it might be, and antidepressants are a big part of it, and how we numb ourselves. And I think it's some people are slowly starting to realize actually that isn't how they want to be, that isn't the way forward, because it just stops us from feeling what we're needing to feel. They say we need to feel to heal, and it's so true. It's just owning what's going on, really.
Absolutely. I feel it to heal it. That's exactly it. So so let's talk about who would really benefit and who it's not suitable for. So let's start with who's it not suitable for. Let's start with that, because is antidepressants a
contraindication.
Yeah.
We work with a lot of people who are not wanting to be on that path. So they come to us looking at different ways of healing and different ways of understanding. So it's not for people on that sort of medication.
Right, okay. What about any other medication? Is it contraindicated?
There are a few contraindications. So what we do is we ask everyone to fill in a health check form. And there's so many questions on there, and then that will help guide us to, see if someone's suitable or not.
Because we have a phone call with them as
well, don't you? And make sure that it's a fit. Because like we were talking about earlier, I think now with people have, let's just say, very complex needs, and I think it's really important that not just for the person with complex needs, but for the entire group and for the, whoever's holding the space. Everybody wants to have a nice time, and sometimes it's just not the right time for you. And then if someone's really keen to come on a retreat like that, then they can maybe spend a few months getting themselves ready and prepared for
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that's why, this retreat is really for someone who's already on their spiritual path, who, really understands how to self-reflect and to dive into their shadow.
Yeah, I think so. And to be, so they can self-regulate their emotions.
Yeah. And will you be going outside at all, or is it all done inside?
Well, I'm sure we'll go water duking.
Because my God, that you should see the walks from that place.
Yes. Oh no, we'll definitely be out. We'll definitely be out and about in nature.
Absolutely.
100%. We're not going to be inside.
Nature is so healing. We need to be outside as well. Absolutely.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So talk about who would benefit, and maybe talk about some of this, some testimonies you've had as well from people. No, just before I forget, couples. Is this not a fantastic thing for couples to do?
Yes, it can be actually. Yes. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. It can be a way for them to have a space where they can explore where disharmony comes into their relationship, but in a space where actually they're supported, because it's never really the person that's having a go at you. It's what it's bringing up inside that person. Yeah. And of course, our relationships, when we go into a relationship with somebody, that's when all our traumas come up, because it's suddenly safe to do it, as we all know. Yeah. So actually it can be a really great space for couples. Yeah.
And who else?
I think anybody who wants to expand in their consciousness, in their
dive into their subconscious,
and their perceptions of life. When we do these kind of retreats, our perceptions of life changes, and therefore our life changes. We change. I mean, the reason we do these retreats is because how these nature's medicines have really helped us and changed our lives. Changed relationship with myself, with other people. We know we can change, for the better, to just be freer in ourselves. And we want other people to feel like that too.
Well, that's the best place it can come from, isn't it? Because you're like, this has worked for me. You've no idea the difference it's made to me, and you want to share that. I mean, you'd be crazy if you didn't want to share it.
Exactly.
So,
That's totally behind what we do. Yeah.
yes, yeah, it's worked well for you. And I mean, nothing's for everyone, but if anybody watching this either live or in replay, then you can talk to the Julias about whether it would be suitable for you. And I mean, I highly recommend it. It is totally transformational. As I've done, as I say, quite a few retreats with you guys, and I've also observed by being there doing the food, the transformations that you see on people by the end of it. It is life changing. So, like, before we finish, though, tell me about Egypt and what did you see, and do you have any crazy experiences?
Lots of crazy experiences, but really, really beautiful and profound. And when you were talking about we are vessels of consciousness earlier, Lilia, it reminded me of Egypt because, you know, in ancient Egypt, when in the golden time, that's how people lived, you know, in their consciousness all the time. And
it's all around there, isn't it?
So you know, that touched into our experiences while we were out there, which was phenomenal.
It was incredible. Yeah, absolutely. We saw just about all of Egypt. We went down to Aswan, up to Luxor, up to Cairo, across to Sharm el Sheikh, up to Daheb, and then on to, and we culminated with walking up Mount Sinai at 11 o'clock at night with head torches, 2,300 meters, to watch the sunrise. And it was a pilgrimage. It was called the Prayer of Peace, and that's what we were carrying, the Prayer of Peace. We were an hour and a half from Gaza, so it was quite incredible.
Wow. Yeah, it's palpable then, isn't it?
Yeah,
really palpable. But we saw many temples, which was incredible. We went to the Philae Temple, the Temple of Isis. We went to Sekhmet, Hathor. I think we went to 7 different temples. And then we saw the pyramids, but just to see how they lived. But actually, one of the really sad things was the defacing of all the in the temples, the defacing of the goddesses, and how the Romans scraped their faces away, have taken their feet off. In some places, they've taken whole panels of the wall off because they were wanting to bring Christianity in. It's really sad, really, really sad.
No. Humans are crazy, though. I mean, there's evidence of that everywhere.
Exactly.
Jennifer Main was saying at the Goddess Gathering that making the goal to be the presence of peace, and that's really the only thing that we can do. So much is out with our control, but being the presence of peace, or at least striving to bring that. Excuse me, I'm just recovering from a bit of a cold. So I mean, I just can't even think about the Gaza thing because I can't do anything about it, and I just find it it's too abhorrent to even get your head round.
It really is. Yeah.
And there's so much politics about it, you know, and you're just like, who's right and who's wrong? It's just like, well, nobody that's killing people is right, regardless.
No.
It's just crazy, absolutely crazy. So just briefly before we finish, Perth Wellness Centre, so you're still running classes and doing stuff there?
Very much so. We have we run a sister circle every month. We have our sound baths. We're doing our one-to-one talking therapies. We run retreats, just everything. And you said at the very beginning, how good is it to have your own space? It is amazing because we do so much that if we were then having to try and book somewhere all the time, it wouldn't be possible, I don't think, to run what we run.
We call it our Earthship.
Brilliant, I love that. Yeah, I did an event with Sharon Tate and Lush yesterday, and we lucked out with the venue simply because it was such a last minute idea. And we were saying that the venue can end up taking away half your ticket price. You know, it's so crazy, and trying to find one that's demographically suitable. You know, it adds. When I did that Goddess Gathering tour, that was the biggest hassle. Putting a program together is no problem. It's finding right venues, and for the noise, and for the atmosphere and all that stuff.
And the dates that work.
Yeah, exactly. And you're fighting. The good venues are always fighting the weddings.
Yeah.
Which obviously
Yeah.
they're going to make far more money from. So no, it's lovely that you guys have got that. Absolutely. I definitely next year want a mothership for Heal Scotland. We need a headquarters.
Yeah,
that has to happen. So just exactly where it will be, I'm not sure yet, but yeah, I have decided.
It's a nice thought. The motherships are spreading.
Exciting.
Absolutely. You know, so many people, there's many people in Scotland really wanting this to happen now. There's a massive shift. There's incredible stuff going on all over our country. You can see even in our site, all the members, you're just like, wow. So just be really nice. And I've just been thinking that as well. What we really need, much as we definitely need a place for people that are sick to convalesce, we also just need a big venue with treatment rooms, just a bigger version of what you guys have, where people just come and run their events for a reasonable price, and we can allow people to come for next to nothing if we need to, because the reality is overheads still have to be paid. People, we all understand that some people can't afford it, but at this stage, there's really not a lot we can do about that. Money is still got to be made. That's just the world we're still living in at the moment. So I do believe it'll change, but for now, I think that would be great to have a really nice venue in a nice location. But there's also a lot of places lying empty all over Scotland.
Absolutely.
But the council likes its fair share, so it's really hard to stay and maintain these places.
I saw a couple of places last
week.
Other
subject.
That's a whole it is absolutely that we're owned by the NHS, and they're just not getting used, and you're like, that is madness, absolute madness.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's fantastic to see you. So what dates are you in Skye?
13th to the 16th of February.
13th to 16th of February. Fantastic. Right. So, the chances are I'm not going to see you until then, actually, because I head up to Skye in the 4th of, I'll be going up on the 3rd of January, because we kick off with the first Wild Energy Medicine retreat on the 4th. So, and then I'm just going to be there for the 2 months.
Oh, wow.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so John and I are both very excited at how we're going to feel by the end of it, because we're going to be, Marcy will be able to swap in and out, we'll share the childminding, but it's going to be a phenomenal. And honestly, you could not have, I was just looking at this place going, I don't think you could have handpicked a more spectacular venue for your first pop-up healing centre. It's just jaw-dropping. So you'll love it. Absolutely love it.
Can't wait.
February, I think it's going to be getting lighter by then. Do you know, it's quite a nice thought, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Lilia, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for inviting us as well, because it's really exciting.
It's an absolute pleasure. I'm delighted to see you, and I'll get to spend a wee bit of time with you, because I don't know where's the time going. It's like, how come up? Well, I've tried to see you, Julia. When I've been going past, but it's usually last minute and very unorganized, but that's just the way my life's been recently. So anyway, lots of love. Have a great festive season, and I will chat to you soon.
Fantastic.